going to be hard because there are certain subjects that I don't talk about a lot in conferences because they don't necessarily fit the whole crowd.
Joyce Meyer is a name that is well known among the majority of Christians, regardless of their particular denomination or their previous church experience. As the Christian nonfiction author who has achieved the highest number of sales over the past decade, she has written more than 90 books and produced radio and television shows in over 200 countries and 49 different languages. She is considered to be among the most effective Bible teachers in the entire world. A multitude of individuals have been able to discover hope and restoration through Jesus Christ as a result of her books.
I believe the devil uses the pain of rejection. I was rejected by family and friends to keep people from going forward.
It is safe to say that she has been a guide for many people in the Christian community. However, there was a time when she was unable to even find herself or comprehend the path of Christianity that she now guides others on. We invite you to join us as we talk about the experiences she has had throughout her life and the path she has traveled to get to where she is now. During her childhood, Pauline Joyce Hutchinson was born in the state of Missouri in 1943. The unfortunate event that occurred was that World War II had begun and her father was required to enlist in the military. Even though he was fortunate enough to survive and make it back to his house, he was not the same person he had been before he left. Mistreating her and touching her in an inappropriate manner brought him a great deal of pleasure. During her formative years, her family's home was a place where she was filled with feelings of shame and fear. The fact that her mother was aware of the abuse did not prevent her from taking action to stop it, and she herself was subjected to physical abuse on multiple occasions. Her mother's mental illness, her father's alcoholism, and the abuse she endured all became more severe as she grew older. Her father was an alcoholic. She made the decision to switch to Christianity when she was 9 years old, and she attributes her survival to God. Joyce moved out of her family home the same year that she received her high school diploma and married her first husband when she was 18 years old. The young couple had a relationship that was fraught with conflict and moved around quite a bit. 1964 was the year that she experienced a miscarriage. However, the following year, she was blessed with fruit of the womb once more. Following the dissolution of her marriage in 1966, she was compelled to relocate back to her parents' home because she had a young son to care for and a limited amount of financial resources. 1967 was the year that she tied the knot with engineering draftsman Dave Meyer, whom she had first met the previous year. Joyce Meyer would testify that she was resentful and verbally abusive in the early years of her second marriage, despite the fact that this second marriage was a turning point in her life. The couple went on to have 3 children in the years that followed, and her husband was there for her not only during her meteoric rise to Christian stardom, but also during her subsequent health problems and medical treatments. A hysterectomy was performed in 1987, and breast cancer surgery was performed in 1989. These are the treatments that are in question. Many people are under the mistaken impression that she was the sole leader of her ministry, despite the fact that she had the unwavering support of her husband, who kept pushing her along with a board of directors that monitors the projects she undertakes. Despite the fact that they now have 4 grown children, the couple continues to be unwaveringly committed to one another and the ministry that God has made available to them. She was reborn at the age of 9, but she did not remain faithful to her faith throughout her life. She claims that she had a spiritual awakening when she was 35 years old, pointing out that at the time, she did not possess any knowledge. Not a single church was attended by me. Due to the fact that I was experiencing a great deal of difficulties, I required assistance from another person. One day while I was driving, I realized that I had heard God call my name. Following that, I felt His love and Spirit move through me like a current. Nearly 15 conferences are held each year in which Joyce imparts valuable lessons derived from the Bible. Her speeches have also been given at Hillsong Australia and a great number of other churches. She has a large following of devoted fans all over the world, ranging from young women in their teens to elderly women for their grandchildren. They have the impression that she is courteous, humble, humorous, charming, and honest, all of which are characteristics that are not typically found in influential Christian leaders. In contrast to the widespread belief, she makes substantial financial contributions to a variety of nation-building projects, and her ministry places a significant emphasis on social outreach, both within the United States and internationally. She is a devoted humanitarian who has a heart for those who are less fortunate, and through her ministry, she has donated the following items over the course of just the year 2010. Every single day, more than 29 million meals were provided to more than 6,000 children in the city of St. Louis. A total of more than 243,000 meals were distributed to children who were homeless or living in poverty. 236,000 individuals were provided with free medical care. There were over 370 freshwater wells constructed so far in India and other remote areas, and since 1998, more than 2 million prison gift bags have been distributed. Additionally, there was daily care for over 1,100 children in 45 children's homes. Additionally, there were 16 new freshwater wells constructed. A total of 100 new homes were built in Haiti, and over 150,000 people were provided with free food, water, and medical care. To this day, at least $9.4 million have been contributed to disaster relief efforts all over the world. As is the case with the majority of celebrities, she has been subjected to scrutiny, despite the fact that she has a positive reputation and is involved in charitable activities. After Joyce left the pastoral team in 1985 and began her own ministry, Dave proposed that they launch a television ministry in 1993. This proposal was met with controversy regarding the availability of funds. It was as a result of this that her ever-expanding bank account came under intense scrutiny, and the television exposure was met with harsh criticism. When confronted by those who criticize her lavish way of life, she has responded by saying, "We do not need to apologize for our blessings. People are going to think that your wealth is even more incredible, even if you are a successful businessman. The fact that you are a preacher, on the other hand, makes it an immediate problem." As her ministry grew, more people became aware of her achievement in the financial sector. In 2003, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch published a series of articles about Joyce and her church, which revealed that her ministry was generating at least $100 million on an annual basis. Her well-attended conferences were also covered by the Post-Dispatch. During these events, she solicited donations totaling millions of dollars and asserted that God had healed illnesses such as cancer through her touch. She expressed her regret for her teachings of the prosperity gospel in a post that she made on Instagram in 2019. These teachings assert that faith can lead to both financial and physical well-being respectively. Despite the fact that she is content with what she has learned, her understanding of faith has become unbalanced. As a consequence of this, whenever someone has a problem in their life, it is because they do not have sufficient faith. In essence, she expressed the belief that the only reason you became susceptible to illness was because you did not have sufficient faith. As a matter of fact, in covert examples, a person did not have sufficient faith if their child passed away. It was discovered that this doctrine was incorrect due to the fact that nowhere in the Bible is it given as a promise that one would never again experience difficulties. In spite of the amount of faith that one possesses, it is inevitable that we will face challenges in life. In 2007, the United States Senate Finance Committee, which was led by Chuck Grassley, conducted an investigation into the excessive spending of 6 televangelists and the tax-exempt status of their churches. Her church was one of the churches that was investigated. A number of other Christian figures, including Benny Hinn, Paula White, Eddie L. Long, Creflo Dollar, and Kenneth Copeland, were among those who were subjected to scrutiny by the Senate. As a result of her ministry's participation in a commission that was led by the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability and its assistance with the investigation, there were no allegations of misconduct that were brought forward during the final verdict. In order to provide the general public with a better understanding of the organization's financial situation, Joyce Meyer Ministries has made its annual financial audits available on its website. Aside from the controversy surrounding the ministry's expansion, the journey of expansion for the ministry has been an interesting one up to this point. She and her husband joined the Life Christian Church, which was an interdenominational church that was experiencing difficulties at the time and had only about 30 members in St. Louis, Missouri, in the early 1980s. She began leading a Bible study for women at her home, and it quickly became well known, despite its relatively short duration. The pastor of the church, Rick Shelton, took notice of her vitality and began offering her the opportunity to substitute for him during the services. In the year 1980, he appointed her to the position of associate pastor on a full-time basis. After only 3 years, she began hosting her own show, which was called Life in the Word. Shortly after that, Rick asked her to join him on a daily Christian radio show that typically lasted 15 minutes. Eventually, she was able to purchase time on 6 radio stations in the Midwest as a result of her teachings, which frequently included candid discussions of her past abuse and the ability of God to heal. It was because of these topics that she was able to connect with her audience and pave the way for her future success. In 1985, the Meyers decided to leave Life Christian in order to begin their ministry, which is a nonprofit named Life in the Word. An educational television program called Life in the Word was produced by the ministry. Through the use of video footage from her live conferences, the show quickly gained widespread recognition after it was broadcast on the WGN television station in Chicago, as well as the BET network, which is part of the Black Entertainment Television Network. Over the course of just 5 years, the program, which is now known as Enjoying Everyday Life, was broadcast on more than a dozen cable and satellite networks, in addition to hundreds of radio and television stations all over the world. It was through her personal testimony and her strong abilities in public speaking that she became well known not only in Christian circles, but also beyond such circles. Her accent was both charming and regional, and she had a unique ability to tackle real-life issues with faith-based solutions that were both practical and effective. During the course of her rise to fame, she regularly hosted live events and conferences that attracted thousands of attendees. In point of fact, her status as a prominent evangelist was solidified when, in late 1998, she was featured on the cover of Charisma and Christian Life magazine as the most popular woman minister in the United States of America. By the time the 1990s came to a close, the Life in the Word ministry had moved its headquarters to a new location in Fenton, Missouri, which cost $20 million. The St. Louis Dream Center was established by the Myers family in the year 2000. In addition to church services, the community outreach initiatives include a food pantry, an after-school program, and a faith-based residential program that provides men who have been impacted by addiction and destructive lifestyles with the opportunity to experience restoration and transformation. The mission arm of the ministry, known as Hand of Hope, is responsible for carrying out Christian humanitarian projects and projects all over the world. Some of the projects that fall under this category are feeding programs, disaster relief, and the provision of clean water and medical care to communities that are economically disadvantaged. The year 2003 marked the year that Joyce Meyer Ministries took over the role of Life in the Word. Today, she serves as the president of the organization, and her husband, Dave Meyer, serves as the vice president. During the course of her ministry, author Joyce Meyer has penned more than 140 books, including several titles that have achieved widespread success. Like her speaking, her writing is renowned for taking a straightforward, no-nonsense approach to Christian living. Many of her books are classified as Christian self-help, and her writing is also known for its straightforwardness. Among her best-selling books are Battlefield of the Mind, which was published in 1995, The Confident Woman, which was published in 2006, Power Thoughts, which was published in 2009, and Living Beyond Your Feelings, which was published in 2011. These books cover topics such as the power of a positive outlook, the power of negative thinking, and the power of building confidence, in addition to a large number of books that concentrate on enhancing one's relationship with God, such as the book Knowing God Intimately, published in 2003, The Power of Simple Prayer, published in 2007, and the book God Is Not Mad at You, which was a bestseller on the New York Times bestseller list. In 2013, she wrote a number of devotionals, some of which include Hearing from God Each Morning, which was published in 2004, and Trusting God Day by Day, which was published in 2012. She was recognized by Time magazine as one of the 25 most influential evangelicals in the United States in the year 2005. As of the year 2024, Enjoying Everyday Life is still accessible via the internet and on a number of streaming services, and it is also still being broadcast on radio and television all over the world. Every year, Meyer not only maintains an active presence on social media, but he also hosts a number of live conferences, the majority of which take place in the United States. Joyce Meyer teaches readers how to reframe success in order to align it with God's plan for the kind of life that gives us genuine meaning and lasting happiness. She guides them through the process of adopting this new perspective. The idea that a successful life requires having a good job, owning your own business, having money, being famous, and having influence is something that we are taught. She suggests that if we are deprived of them, we experience feelings of inadequacy. Nevertheless, even after we have achieved our goals, we continue to feel feelings of loneliness, unhappiness, and a lack of fulfillment. The outside world has a different conception of what constitutes success than God does, despite the fact that God wants us to be successful. The fact of the matter is that God employs an entirely different strategy in order to fulfill our hopes and aspirations in a manner that brings us genuine happiness, which is precisely what we require. If you read The Pathway to Success, you will have a better understanding of what it means to pursue success in the way that God has ordained. Through her relatable and realistic insights that are based on the Word of God, she guides readers through the process of actively seeking the secrets of genuine and long-lasting success. In the process of walking out the purpose that God has planned for you, The Pathway to Success, which is full of wisdom that has stood the test of time and rich encouragement, will assist you in refocusing your life and fulfilling your destiny. So far, she has accomplished a great deal, and as we have already mentioned, the support of her husband has been of the utmost importance to her success. Support from the husband. The fact that she and her husband have been married for more than half a century is almost unfathomable to the majority of people, particularly in this day and age when marriages appear to come to an abrupt end. The work that the Lord has done in their relationship and the progress that they have made continues to amaze a great number of people. They will never forget the day that they first met one another on that particular day. One evening, while she was outside washing her mother's car, Dave and his friend who lived upstairs pulled up in front of her house. Dave was there to greet her. As soon as he laid eyes on her, he became intrigued and asked, "When you are finished washing that car, would you be interested in washing mine?" His sense of humor was intriguing to her, so she responded by saying, "Guy, if you want your car washed, then you should wash it yourself." The statement that Dave made is that he immediately thought, "That is the girl for me." It is his assertion that he held the fire that was a component of her in high regard. Nevertheless, he was unaware of the magnitude of the fire that he was going to have to face. You have to understand that Dave had been praying to God to send him someone who was in need, and he was able to find exactly what he was looking for in Joyce. Because she had been subjected to verbal and sexual abuse when she was a child, she was going through a period of intense emotional suffering that permeated every facet of her life. After putting up barriers and resolving that she would never again allow a man to cause her harm, she put an end to the situation. It would be an understatement to say that the initial few years of their marriage were extremely difficult. By nature, she was difficult to get along with because she was harsh, mean, critical, and defiant. When it came to her, Dave, however, never gave up. The most important thing that he did was to continue praying for her and to ask God to be involved in every facet of their marriage. In spite of the fact that it took some time, the Lord made it possible for them to transform their marriage into something truly miraculous. Furthermore, God brought about a change in her. As they progressed, they realized how important it is to recognize and appreciate the individuality of one another. He has a natural ability to remain calm and laid back, and he has always been able to find the bright side of things. Her personality was more of a type A personality, and she was very driven, but she could be overly severe or callous at times. During the course of many years, she endeavored to make him more aggressive like I am, particularly with regard to experimenting with new things. It was unavoidable that he would say, "Joyce, you are always ahead of God," and she would respond by saying, "However, you are always 10 miles behind him." As a result of her persistent remarks about how passive he was, Dave once became very irate and told her that she should be glad that he was acting in that manner. According to the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 12, every single one of us has a specific and important function to perform within the larger body. In verse 25, it is stated that there should be no hostility or division between people, but rather that everyone should care about and be interested in one another. After giving Dave a quick glance, she recalled saying, "I accept you the way you are," when they shook hands many years ago. She said this after giving him a quick glance. After casting a fleeting glance in my direction, he said, "I accept you exactly as there are." Even though this event marked the beginning of their long-term relationship, it does not negate the fact that there is a need for change. As a result of the fact that we are all fallible, we all require a significant amount of assistance from God. On the other hand, it does imply that God is in charge of the changes that occur in other people and not in us. Our only duty is to offer prayers for them. Seek the Holy Spirit's assistance in recognizing your spouse's many positive traits. While you should continue to value your similarities, you should also choose to celebrate your differences. Make an effort to see your spouse as a special gift from God who enhances and enriches your life. God will assist you in putting aside your disagreements and accepting them for who they are as you do this. They had a turbulent start but eventually set their marriage straight. But how did that affect their kids, Sandra McCollum? Now, while her parents did have their turbulent start, it didn't mean they neglected their kids. In fact, they made sure to shower them with love and introduce them to the Word of God. Unfortunately, while they did, perhaps they didn't take time to make sure she understood exactly what the information she was being told meant. Sandra, at the age of 8, had given her life to Christ, but instead of having the image of an accepting and living father, she instead pictured a taskmaster, hell-bent on judging her for any sin or misdemeanor she committed. She'd wake up every day getting on her treadmill of accomplishment, as she called it, on which she'd try to meet goals she set for herself in order to not earn God's ire. This led her to not fully relax into Christianity and a need to prove herself worthy of love, even worse, building a perfectionistic character that would continue to haunt her for years to come. This also cut her off from feeling the existence of God's grace. It instead built into her the mindset that it was all by her efforts, thus impeding her spiritual growth. It would be many years in the future before she could start correcting her views and living a more holistic Christian lifestyle. This is not to say her parents were at fault, but perhaps she needed them even more in the start than ever. Today she has authored a book named I Tried Till I Almost Died, where she pens down her journey to grace in a bid to bring people to God in a way only she can understand and perhaps save others the years of disconnect and spiritual improvement she had to go through. What do you think of Sandra McCollum's experience and family? Post your thoughts in the comments section below. We appreciate you watching. To enjoy more exciting videos, click play on the video on your screen. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notified when a new video drops.